But I think something that's also that we don't always think about is that on our campuses, this is where the people like Michelle Rhee and Arnie Duncan and Rahm Emanuel, this is where they come from. Because college campuses, I know mine in particular, Columbia, are prime recruiting grounds for groups like Teach for America, Students for Education Reform, and all these other groups funded by super PACs and funded by billionaires who want to recruit the next generation of education reform leaders. And so I think we have the double goal of getting ourselves involved in a lot of the great movements that we've already got going on here. But we also have on our own campuses. Our own campuses are, a lot of us don't know it, but are the battleground for the future of education. Because and the other side, the right wing of education reform, is winning so far on our campuses. So we feel that in resisting Students for Education Reform, Teach for America, and by at the very least by presenting the other side of the debate, showing students what these groups actually do, we can make some big progress. Because the thing is, a lot of the students at our universities, most people don't want to go ruin public education. Nobody's in it to go. Nobody comes into school at Columbia or Rutgers or NYU and wants to go out in the world and destroy public education. Nobody comes into that. Everyone wants to go and help. People who do Teach for America want to go and give back to the communities, and they want to help schools and make a positive impact. And groups like TFA and SFR exploit that goodwill and that idealism, and they recruit these people to be literally the vanguard of educational destruction. So at the same time as we're joining all of you in the streets, in our schools to fight standardized tests to school closing, we're also fighting the fight on our own campuses and trying to turn our campuses into from places of recruitment for the education deformers to a birthplace of new teachers and advocates for real public education.
Yeah.
Thanks very much.
Hi,
Go NYC.
I'm not nearly as well prepared as all of these guys were, so I apologize for that. But I'm Sarah. I'm from Wisconsin. I've met a lot of you over this weekend.
Go Badgers!
Go Badgers. Go Wisconsin.
Yeah. And I think I'm the only one here, as far as I know, from Wisconsin. But I wanted to share a little bit why I got involved in this movement and why I got involved with Students United for Public Education. And it can be all attributed mostly to, well, my parents, but also Governor Scott Walker. So I'm sure you
Thank you, Governor.
Yeah, he decided that our teachers were not worth a quality pension and bargaining rights and unions, and he didn't think that they deserved any of that in Wisconsin, and we showed him that he was wrong. And
That's right.
I went to the Capitol every day in 2011, and there
Yeah.
protested there, and it was an incredible experience. And I just wanted to let everyone here know that the reason I got into this is for all of you guys, because my mother is a kindergarten teacher.
Right.
I got involved. Yeah. And I got involved for teachers. That was my initial. That was why I initially got involved, is because I have faith in all of you guys, and I have faith in public education. And I know that you guys are not the end-all be-all, and you guys can't work miracles, and I know poverty and all of those things are extremely important in this discussion, but I do think teachers work miracles every day. And I think that needs to be recognized, and we are undervaluing teachers and education, and that's why I got involved, to bring back the trust and the belief in teachers and principals and paraprofessionals and social workers and everything that's involved in the public education system. So that is why I'm here today, and I wanted to thank all of you guys for everything that you do every day, and don't forget that you are loved. I know that you feel undervalued sometimes, but I love all of you, and thousands of other people do, millions of other people do too, so don't ever feel like you're out there alone. All your students love you. So keep your head up, and we'll keep fighting for you.
All right.
All right, my name is Jacob Chafin. I am from Ohio University, and I just want to briefly talk about how I got here today to start out, and then go into, as an education major, what I think the future is going to look like for public education, and what a resistance movement will look like to this neoliberal agenda that we're currently here for and trying to resist. It's similar coming into this, I remember growing up going to protests against the levies that we would, or for the levies that we would have in our school districts in Ohio. It's based off property tax. So what you'll end up seeing is places with, if you have higher income, nicer properties, you're going to get more tax that's going to come in and go straight to your schools. And if you don't come from those neighborhoods, you're not going to get that kind of money, and your school is going to fail for and be impoverished for that reason. So it's a very classist and ends up being classist and racist school funding program that we have in Ohio. You know, so schools in Columbus and the south end of Columbus that are largely Appalachian and black communities are going to have a harder time getting that funding. But at the same time, schools in southeastern Ohio, in Athens and in rural areas have the exact same situation. And we've seen that this is unconstitutional. It's been brought up to our courts 4 times, and nothing's been done. Year after year, you know, they know that this is unconstitutional and they allow it to continue. And I grew up going to these protests, you know, and trying to make sure that we would get this funding, and nothing's happened so far. And then for me, when it really became real for public education was when in 2011 we have our lovely governor, John Kasich, passed a law called Senate Bill 5, which would effectively get rid of collective bargaining rights. And I remember, my dad's a teacher, by the way, on the south end of Columbus. And so when that bill came out, I realized it hit my family in more ways than one. You know, not only was my dad a teacher, but that was the career I was going to go into. And suddenly there was a shift in my own education. As going into education, it was like, it all made sense. It became political. You know, I was hearing on the news how this is about getting rid of bad teachers. This is about making our schools, we're going to improve them by getting rid of their rights to collectively bargain for classroom conditions and better wages. And I realized as long as people like that are going to tell me that I'm going to be a bad teacher, and they're attacking my dad, saying that he's a bad teacher, I realized that I have to fight back. And for the rest of my life, I'm going to resist that. So I'm going to be the best damn teacher that I can be. Because of that. Exactly for that. You know, resistance is, that's going to be my motivation. And that's what's going to make sure that I'm doing everything I can. So, but I think that our generation, particularly, again, like Israel was saying, we have to be the forefront of this movement. And there's a particular reason for that. Is that we grew up taking these standardized tests. I understand a lot of teachers here, you all are very frustrated with them because you have to proctor these tests and it hurts your pedagogy. But we've done these tests for 3 weeks every year. You know, we grew up doing that. So public education for us has been standardized tests, teaching to tests.
Sorry.
And now we're at a point where we're graduating college, going into the field of education, and we're proctoring those same tests, we're teaching those same tests. And our pay is going to be based off of those tests, and we have to ruin our pedagogy. You know, everything that I'm learning is about a critical pedagogy, but I'm going to have to teach to a test at the end of the day. And the problem is that because we grew up with this, we're going to see that the standardized testing becomes hegemonic, and that becomes the way public education is. We grew up with it, now we're teaching to it, and that's just going to be the way it is. It's going to be cement. Much like the prison here that we have here, it's same way. But at the same time, our generation is going to be the forefront for this resistance. Because at the exact same time, you can go into every teacher education classroom in the country and go, do you remember what it was like to take those tests? Did you like those? And every single college student's going, no, I hated it. You know, for 3 hours a day, I would sit down and take a test, and then maybe we'd get a snack at some point, and an art project, but I hated it. It was so boring. So if you really want to see that change, we have to go into these classrooms where teacher ed is going on and have that conversation about what was it like to go through that, and what can we do to resist it. The same way that education took on a new meaning when it became political for me, I think it has to do that with every education major in the country. We can no longer be neutral on these issues and say, we're going to be unbiased, we got to take a step off. I have a lot of professors that say stuff like that. They're like, I can't push the boundaries because I gotta look out for me. It's like, you know what? There's no neutrality in education. There never has been, there never will be. So when you make it political, you make it meaningful. We have to have that tough conversation. What is neoliberal agendas doing to public education? How are we going to resist it though? And I think it's going to be first with us. So every time that they talk about standardization, we have to talk about democracy in a classroom. We have to talk about that every single time. When they talk about high quality teachers and pushing things like TFA, we have to talk about what does it mean to be a high quality teacher. You know, what it means a high quality teacher is someone who knows their curriculum, knows critical pedagogy, and is willing to really try to do that. And then also is willing to resist anything that's going to hurt students and the craft itself of education. And when we talk about education reform, we have to step it up. When they talk about education reform, we have to stand here and we want to go, you know what? We're not about reform. We're about education revolution. Yeah! Pure and simple. This system, it wasn't good before, and it wasn't good now, and it's not going to be better until we take reform, throw it out the window, and we revolutionize education, and we change it from the ground up. That's the reality. Thank you.
Yeah.